Hi guys, welcome back from the break. And we're going to be talking now about the foreign policy between 2011 and 2018 when Partido Popular and Mariano Rajoy were in power. And the best way to start this is, did foreign policy exist at all during this period of time in Spain? Well, you will see that it was limited, the scope of foreign policy during this time. How was it so? Actually, when discussing the foreign policy of this government, we can say that Germany was the focal point of it. And this obviously had to do with the economic crisis and the leadership that Germany had in Europe at this time. By the end of the day, during the economic crisis in Europe, Germany was a country that was performing best economically, well, out of the big ones. So it was the one dictating the economic formulas that the European Union had to follow. Actually, the beginning was austerity, then it was a bit more of incentivizing the economy, and actually, well, that had to do with the new president of the European Central Bank, and that actually was Italian. But actually, Germany was very influential at that time. And particularly, well, you see her there, Angela Merkel, the chancellor of Germany, and through its influence in the European Union and also through key positions in European institutions, particularly the European Central Bank, were the ones dictating what had to be done in Europe by the end of the day. And actually, Spain, what it did was mostly following Germany and what Germany dictated at that time. And the relation between Mariano Rajoy and Angela Merkel was an interesting one. I mean, actually, you can see that it got beyond politics. This was both of them actually going out for a walk before an European summit, and it got to be quite close. So quite interesting. Obviously, politics always offers us these kind of situations that are that obviously go beyond the political setting and so on. And actually, the relation between Mariano Rajoy and Angela Merkel was a good one, despite the fact that he could not speak English and she could not, or nor German, and she could not speak Spanish. But yeah, then that's life. So what about the rest of the European Union? We can actually talk about lack of European influence, absolute, of this government during this time. Obviously, the economic situation of Spain did not make it easy. But I mean, we can see how other countries, for example, Greece, dictated the European agenda, being smaller, being actually badly hit by the economic crisis. But it was more influential than Spain at this time. Spain failed to position anyone in the key positions of the European Union. So no one in the European Central Bank. We had a weak commissioner. We had no positions in most of the institutions, but they even in the council, very weak politically in Europe. And obviously, I mean, that image kind of reflects it. And this obviously had an impact on several issues at that time that were important for Spain. One of them, for example, being Brexit. We were not really in those conversations in Brexit. Actually, and particularly, we were one of the countries that had the most interest, not only because of Gibraltar and the status of Gibraltar, and how this was going to be negotiated with the United Kingdom, but also because actually we are the country in Europe that hosts the most British people, and obviously the status of these people after the United Kingdom leaves was very important for Spain. Obviously, there are other issues. For example, Iran nuclear pacts. We have no say there whatsoever. In Syria with the refugee crisis, absolutely nothing. So Spain was a bit absent at that time, during this period of time, of European politics. And last issue that I'm going to tell you about the foreign policy and foreign first priorities of this government was actually a reform that took place in 2014. Up until this time, it had already been reformed in 2009, but it was a minor reform. It had to do with universal jurisdiction. This is quite an interesting concept. By the end of the day, here we're talking about jurisdiction is that Spanish courts can see cases on certain grounds. Which grounds? International law crimes. So we're talking about crimes like genocide, like terrorism, pirates. Yeah, I don't know how to call it in English, pirateria. So that kind of crimes, regardless where the crime was committed, regardless the nationality of the person accused. And this is absolutely is very interesting, and this is something common in other European countries. And this allowed, for example, for Augusto Pinochet, former dictator in Chile, to be prosecuted and sentenced in Spain. Why? Because we have the principle of universal jurisdiction, that Spanish courts, if the case is brought before them, they can see the case and they can rule on the case and they can sentence on that case. And obviously this is an immense power, because by the end of the day, it's a way of also of exporting democracy in a certain way. I mean, there are also critics on this principle. What happened with the reform in 2014? There were two conditions introduced. First one, the accused had to be in Spain, which was very unlikely to happen. And also some of the victims at least had to be Spanish, which was very unlikely as well. This was actually, this reform was implemented because of the pressure of the Chinese government, because of case with some key figures of the regime was actually being judged in Spain. And actually after this reform, the case was dropped. So you can see actually how we were permeable to Chinese pressures in this case. This being said, this was about it, about Mariano Rajoy foreign policy. On Wednesday, we're going to be talking about how he actually handled the crisis and how Spain got out of the economic crisis in 2015. So guys, see you the day after tomorrow. Bye.